Building a Power 5 basketball program in the rugged Big Ten Conference is no easy task. That's the challenge Ben Johnson is taking on at the University of Minnesota. But he has plenty of help from a staff that he trusts and shares his vision.
I wanted to have guys that understand this is not something that's going to be flipped overnight. It's something that we've got to do the right way, and it's going to be that process, and it's going to be methodical at times. But when you do it the right way in the beginning stages, it's going to pay off in the years to come.
Okay, so we're coming here.
One of the first people Johnson called after getting the head job was his coach growing up. Dave Thorson got his passion for the game as a kid in South Fargo.
It goes back to elementary school, and actually I went to Clara Barton on the south side, and Don Nelson, God rest his soul, was the principal at Clara Barton, and you know, he opened the gym for me on Saturdays, and he even saw that I had a love for basketball that was a little different than other people, and so it started there. As a high school player, I actually started to realize that I wanted to coach, and so Mark Askeruth was such a big role model to me in that he fueled me and made me believe that, frankly, I could do anything I wanted in basketball.
After graduating from Fargo South High School, he went on to play collegiately at Hamlin, then spent a year as a graduate assistant at South Dakota before joining Clem Haskins' staff as a volunteer assistant at the U of M in 1990. A couple years later, he was promoted to a full-time role, but decided to make a move to the high school ranks, becoming the Vice President of Development and head boys basketball coach at De La Salle in 1994. In 23 years with the Islanders, the program won 527 games and 9 state titles.
I was lucky that I had literally era after era of guys that played for the front of the jersey. And it was just an awesome experience. You know, so many great players, so many great teams, and again, rooted in that selflessness and that they played for one another, they played the right way.
He had multiple opportunities to get back into college coaching again, but was picky. Finally, in 2017, he decided the time was right, joining Niko Medved, a former student manager with the Gophers, at Drake University.
He was smart, actually. He called my wife, and he convinced my wife that I needed to consider the Drake opportunity. And I'd gotten to a point at De La Salle where I'd raised over $30 million. We'd won 6 state titles in a row, and I felt like it was in a great place. So if I was going to leave, it felt like that was the time that we should do it.
After following Nedved to Colorado State for 3 more seasons, the Fargo native got a call from Johnson, his former player at De La Salle, about returning home.
The core fundamental development, how you teach the game, that doesn't ever change. And that's something that's been consistent since I've known him, since the De La Salle days. It's fortunate that he knows me and I know him, and it just kind of bounces and it works.
It's easy to work with him because I've been a part of his life and his professional journey, going from mentor of sorts to one of those guys that got the phone calls, to the late night phone calls, or what should I do, and all of that, and we became close friends, frankly.
But as Johnson tried to fill out his staff, he was still searching for someone who excelled at player development and also had something to prove. Jason Kemp was at the top of his list.
And then I just knew, he's kind of got the chip on his shoulder. He was a guy that I think's been deserving of being at this level for a while, and for whatever reason hadn't. Like the rest of my staff, is just a tireless worker and a guy that's gonna, turn over every stone, every rock to find answers.
I have known Coach Johnson for over 15 years. I was an assistant at North Dakota State. He was at Northern Iowa. We found a lot in common in regards to style of play, but also the types of players that it takes to build a program on culture and togetherness.
Kemp played Division III ball at Wisconsin Lacrosse, and it was encouragement there that kick-started his desire to coach.
Stu Engen, who was the head coach at Minnesota State Moorhead, who's now the head coach at North Dakota State College of Science. And he was my college coach. He left after my sophomore year, and he said, someday I'm gonna have a job for you. I think you'll be a great coach. And so my junior year, I tore my knee up, and that's when I said, I think I'll have a knack for coaching.
Kemp was encouraged to apply for the graduate assistant position at North Dakota State by current Bison coach David Richmond.
Interestingly enough, I had no plans to try to make a move to Division I. My goal was to become a Division III head coach, probably somewhere in Wisconsin or Minnesota. The decision came down to an interesting meeting with Saul Phillips up in the press box at Bison Sports Arena. And he said, you know, we're going to play Wisconsin this year. And growing up in that state, I thought that would have been the opportunity of a lifetime. That ended up being a game that we actually won. It was a great experience working with those guys as a grad assistant.
He eventually became a full-time assistant with the Bison for 6 seasons, then took off to Toledo and eventually would be reunited with Phillips at Ohio. Things started well, but after 5 seasons, he found himself out of a job.
We ran up on some hard luck, but there were a lot of lessons learned, and I think the most important lesson is that this game can be tough on you, but at the end of the day, you are who you are from the beginning.
He continued on, finding his next opportunity at William & Mary, then the offer for his first Power 5 job back in the Midwest with the Gophers. The journey together for this staff is just beginning, and for Kemp and Thorson, it's almost as if it was all meant to be.
And I never would have dreamed that I would end up here full circle coaching with, you know, someone who I started to coach when I was in the Gopher basketball camp when he was a 6th grader.
We have this saying here, committed to family, and that's what we live by. When a parent drops their young man off to us, their goal, the player, is to make sure they become a better basketball player. My goal is to make sure they become a better man.
When you've got a goal set, you've got to work hard. You've got to be diligent at it, and that work ethic is it's a Fargo thing. It's a North Dakota thing, and so I cherish it.
There's another North Dakota connection to this story as well. When Thorson stepped down as the head coach at De La Salle, Islander alum Travis Bledsoe was selected to take over the program. Bledsoe played collegiately at the University of North Dakota, where he is still 4th on the all-time UND three-point accuracy list and is 5th all-time in free throw accuracy. Other Islander alum like Gino Crandall and Marcus Travis have also played at UND.